Okay, so we're gonna do something a little bit different today. So I love skincare and I love makeup and I love reviewing it and I love talking about it, but that is not my only passion in my life, right? It's not the only thing that I love. Recently I have gotten back into reading. There was a long period of time in my life where I read a lot. High school, a little bit into college, a little bit after college. But then sort of around 2012, I basically stopped reading. I read maybe 1 or 2 books a year. I just sort of, it fell away. Just like so many other things in my life that I just lost motivation, I lost passion, I lost just love of things that I used to love. But recently, as in 2022, I have rekindled my love of reading. I don't know what it was. I think I was on TikTok because I used to just endlessly scroll TikTok. So before I got back into reading, at nights when my child was asleep, before I was ready to go to bed, I would either just like mindlessly numb out in front of, Netflix or something, or I would just scroll TikTok because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do with myself. It's like, what do you do with your time? Like as a single person, like I'm sure, people are married, you spend time with your spouse, but we're not gonna go there. But as a single person, what do I do with my time now that I have so much of it to myself? So I was just numbing out. It's basically what I was doing. And I think I came across, I think somehow I ended up on like book talk on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, you know that there's sort of like different subsets of, TikTok. There's the dancing talk. There's book talk. There's what is cosplay? There's just like all kinds of different subgenres of TikTok. And my TikTok now, like my For You page is pretty spot on to like what my interests are. And book talk is mainly what takes up my TikTok these days. So I think like sometime in January I was scrolling through and I came across like a recommendation for a book and I was like, I haven't read in such a long time. Like I really miss reading, and like the blurb from what was on, the TikTok like sounded really interesting. So I bought myself a Kindle. I had been very, 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 very hesitant to buy myself an e-reader for such a long time. I did get a Nook at one point, when Barnes & Noble, do they still have Nooks? I don't know, but I had gotten myself a Nook like a long time ago. And I could never get into it. And I was very hesitant about the whole e-reader thing because I'm a very like hands-on type of person. Like I like to have books in my hands. I like to be able to feel the pages. I like to be able to see how much of the book is left. I like to be able to smell the paper. I like to be able to, I like to touch it and feel it and know that it's real. So I've been very hesitant about the e-reader thing for a very long time. And for some reason, I decided in January that I was going to get myself a Kindle, and I was going to sign up for Kindle Unlimited, which, you pay a monthly fee and then you get access to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of book titles. I don't even know how many are out there. So that's what I did. I bought myself a Kindle and I have been addicted ever since. I cannot stop reading. I just love it. I have never read this much in my life, even when I was in high school. And it's just, I've found some form of joy after living a pretty joyless life, apart from my kid for a very long time. I found something that I love again, and I love reading. I love exploring new worlds. I just love, you give me a book with good plot, with good writing, and it's just what I love to do now. So, February 1st is when I think I I set up my Kindle, and I've been reading every day since then. Every day since February 1st. So I recently crossed the threshold of my 100th book. By the time that I'm filming this, I'm actually now at 102 books read for the year. I was going to film this a couple of days ago, and then I just decided to wait it out. But I've read, for the sake of this title and for this video, I've read 100 books this year so far. And what I wanted to talk about are the books that I considered 5-star reads. So you'll probably see a few book videos from me throughout the rest of the year because I love books. I love reading, and I want to talk about that now. And I don't want to only talk about skincare because, frankly, I'm getting kind of bored. I want to do other things. And that I might change the name of my channel at some point, just so it's not so like beauty related, but then I don't know. I haven't really figured it out yet. So that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about the books that I've read this year that I have considered 5-star reads. So I'm actually going to be back. I just wanted to film an intro because my makeup actually looked really good today, and I'm about to take it off to go finish the book that I started reading this morning that I want to finish in time to finish this video. And I know that I'm going to cry, so there is absolutely no point in having this on my face if I'm just going to make like a giant mess. Plus I need to take my contacts out because my eyes are so dry. But I will talk about that book later on in this video because it's going to be a 5-star read. So yeah, I just wanted to give sort of like a little intro. I just let you know that this is what we're going to do today. If you are only here for makeup, will never have clicked on this video. You've clicked out by now. So I'm just talking to people who care about books and who want to hear me talk about books that I love reading. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. I'm going to put on a face mask, and then we're going to talk about books. So I will see you guys in a minute. Okay, now that we're back, all nice and cozy. It's dark out. I've got a comfy sort of like sleeping hoodie. I don't know, I got it at Target a while ago. It's pretty comfy. I never use the hood though. I don't really know why it has a hood. I have my tea. This is like I've like so many mugs, but this is the only one that I use. It's this like Valentine's Day one from Starbucks. I've got my Peak Earl Grey, which I love the Peak tea if you haven't tried those yet. And then I've put in a little bit of the Activist Raw Manuka honey that came in a Beauty Heroes limited box a few months back. It's really good. And then I have the Inlight Superfood Mask. I was originally going to go with the Mermaid Mask by Layla, but I couldn't find it, and I am wearing my glasses because my eyes are so dry. I filmed a couple of videos earlier today, and my contacts were just like super glued to my eyeballs because I had cried so much, and my eyes were just like they're so messed up. Like I've been crying literally like all day. And so my eyes are just like, they're completely messed up right now. I'm hoping tomorrow I wake up and they're, you know, like not super dry. Otherwise I'm gonna have to wear my glasses to church tomorrow, and I don't really want to do that, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's talk about the books that I rated 5 stars. So yes, I officially have now read 102 books so far this year, really since February 1st, because that's really when I started reading. I read one book in January, but then I started reading consistently like every single day in starting February 1st. So I've read 102 books, which is, I mean, I have to venture to guess that that's the most I've ever read, you know, in a single year. It definitely is the most I've ever read since I've been, you know, updating my stuff on Goodreads. I always leave a Goodreads link below in case you're a reader and you want to ever see what I'm reading. if you're ever interested in like what I'm reading or what I'm adding to my, want to read shelf, or how I rate books, how I feel about them. So I guess let's talk about my rating system a little bit. I'm generally I rate things as like a 4 pretty often. Like if I enjoy the story, if the writing is well done, if there is plot, if the story is like cohesive, if it's fun, if I have a good time, it's getting a 4. The only time I give books a 5 is if it makes me feel something, like if I just get like sucked into the world, like if I'm transported into the book and like it just feels like it's just like I feel it. Your heart gets like fluttery when you read something that like, pulls at your heartstrings, or it makes you cry. You're just like totally transported into the book, and it's just like, it's like a whole experience. So I don't rate 5 stars very often. A book has to really, I have to really like feel it, for it to be rated 5 stars. And I also don't rate very low very often, but what will get a book a 3-star, rating is if the story has potential, but like maybe the writing's not the greatest. Let me see. Let me try to think. Let me try to see like what I have read that I've rated 3 stars. Usually it's stuff where I still have a good time, and like I still like the story, but maybe it left me wanting more. The writing wasn't fabulous. Maybe they're really like the plot wasn't. It was like okay. Mostly I rate stuff 4 stars. 1 and 2 stars I don't give I think I've only given 1 star once. And I can talk about that at the end, my worst rated book. But 2 stars, it's just like the story didn't feel like it, just like I didn't really, oh, my cats are fighting. I didn't really get like transported into the story. The plot wasn't great. It wasn't believable. Like the characters just, like it was juvenile, or just the way that they talked to each other. I just didn't, not a vibe. So I've only given 1 star. I mean, a book has to be really, really bad for me to give a 1 star. I've given a few 2 stars. I've given a few 3 stars. Generally, I'm a pretty generous reader. 4 stars. So let's talk about 5 stars. So the one that I read today, which was a 5-star book, is 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. So I will leave a picture of the book here in case you want to look it up. I'll give you like a brief synopsis. I didn't know what this book was about going into it. I pick my reads based on like very short blurbs on TikTok. So like if someone posts like a scene, I will go to Kindle Unlimited, download the book, and read it just based off of like one scene, having no idea what the book is even about. I don't read the blurbs. I don't like anything. Like I just sort of go into it blind. And I guess we should sort of talk about like what my favorite genres are. So I used to love horror. That was like all that I used to read. I would read Stephen King, zombie novels, those, and culinary mysteries. So those were my favorite genres. If you've seen my book collection, you've seen, all my Stephen King books. You've seen my zombie book collection. You've seen my culinary mystery section. What I'm into these days, and I totally blame 50% my sister and 50% TikTok, because I never would have gotten into this genre ever. Like I made fun of this genre way back when. I never read this. It was not something I ever thought I was ever going to read. But it's like romance. And not just romance like Nicholas Sparks. It's like smut. Okay? I used to be embarrassed about that when I first started reading. When I was like starting to read this genre, I was like kind of embarrassed about it. But now it's just like, whatever. It makes me happy. I have a good time. It's fun. It's fast reads. It's the reason I've read as many books as I have, is because they're fast reads. And I'm a pretty fast reader as it is. A 300 to 400 page book I can read in a day. If you give me 500 or 600 pages, usually takes me like 2 days. And I know you're probably thinking, how do you have so much time to read? How do you even read 102 books in a year? Well, my child sleeps 12 hours a night and I do not. So that's when I get my reading in. Okay, so now that we know, I do generally read only romance. I've tried to sprinkle in a couple of other books. I've tried to start reading Stephen King again because I did want to go through and read all of his books in order. I had started to do that once, I think back in like 2015, and then I didn't make it very far. I'm trying again. I'm on The Shining, but like every time I try to read The Shining, it just like I get bored now because I like I like the fast-paced, you know, reading of the smut and all of that. So like it's hard for me to read anything else, but like occasionally I try to throw in some other stuff, so that's not like all I'm reading, but that is what gets me, you know, reading faster. Okay, so now 1,000 Boy Kisses. So this isn't smut, and I didn't know what this was going into it. I basically, like on TikTok, what I had seen about it was this book made me cry the whole way through. And I was like, cool, let's do it. Sometimes I need a good cry, right? And like a book that like makes me feel, and like if I feel connected to the characters and I'm like crying, it's a 5-star read. So this book, I was crying from like page 2 to literally the very end. Like I was crying throughout this entire book. So to basically give you like a little bit of what it's about, it's like a friends to lovers, soulmates. There's a little bit of like a period of time where they're separated, and it's like high school age kids, and it's not like a traditional happy ending, but there is some kind of ambiguous happy ending. So I don't want to give too much away when I talk about the books, because I want you to read it, and like go into it blind like I do, because I just enjoy that so much. It's just like not knowing anything, like except this book will make me cry from beginning to end. Like that intrigued me. Yeah, and like I said, not smut. There's not a zero spicy scene in here, but like the story just, it took me and it made me feel things. And I read another book by this author recently. This is not a 5-star read. This one I gave 4 stars, but it's just it's just like so interesting seeing like what different, how an author can be so totally, like can write so totally different. So there's 1,000 Boy Kisses, which is sweet and sad and not spicy. And then I read this one recently, Sick Fucks by Tillie Cole, and this is dark and uncomfortable and twisted and gruesome, and it's just like it's so totally the opposite. So I mean, this wasn't 5 stars because it didn't make me feel the way that 1,000 Boy Kisses did, but like if you can handle being uncomfortable and like sort of gruesome, and like maybe you need like a trigger warning to read a book, I mean that would be a trigger warning book, because it's dark, that is twisted, but it was still good. I had a good time, even though there was a lot of scenes in the beginning where I just felt like so uncomfortable. But it's a book. It's just like, I don't want to read about real world stuff. I want to read about, you know, soulmates and something I'm never going to experience probably, because like the love that is in some of these books, just like, it's depressing that I'll never know what that's like. Okay, so my next 5-star read, I gotta find it because it's been a while. So it was this book, Perfect Strangers by J.T. Geissinger. Again, this was another one where I just went in blind. There was like a blurb that somebody had out on a TikTok, and I was like, cool, sounds fun. This one, it was just, there were so many twists that I didn't see coming. Like not dark, like it's not like, you know, it's not like a dark thing, but it's unexpected, and it was fun and like sexy, and I just loved it. I loved this book. It's I didn't see the twist coming, and then there was another twist, and then there was another twist, so it was just like twist on twist on twist, and I loved that. I love when a book is unexpected, where it's not just like the standard happy ending, where, you know, it's different, and it makes you think, and then you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. So I love that one. That was another one that I really loved. Okay, my next one. I have 3 from Lucy Score that I've read this year. I've only read these 3 books so far, and all 3 of them have been 5-star reads. I love Lucy Score's storytelling. I also love that her books are longer. All of Lucy Score's books that I've read so far have been in like the 500, like upper 500 page range. And I love when books are a little bit longer. Like when you read a 300 page book, sometimes you feel a little bit cheated because you're like, oh, that's it? I wanted more. So the first one, well, the last one that I read, but it's the first one on my Goodreads, is Forever Never. And this was another one of those sort of like friends to lovers. It was, again, like they were broken up for a long period of time. Not, like they were apart, distance for a long period of time where they weren't together. And it was just like, what? I don't even want to like tell you what these books are about. I just want to tell you what, which ones I loved. And then I want you to go read them. Most of the books I've read have been on Kindle Unlimited, which you can just download the book and then, you know, return it when you're done with it. It's like kind of like a library book. It's $10 a month. Did I mention that? But yeah, I loved Forever Never. It was just like angsty. Yeah, it was a slow burn too. So it didn't, the couple didn't even get together until like the 50% of the book, which if you're reading a 600-page book, that's like 300 pages. That's a long, slow burn. And I kept texting my sister because she had read this one before, and I was like, when did they get together? I can't take it anymore. But once they did, it was so, like, it was just good. It was so good. The other one that I've read from her is Things We Never Got Over. So it was like a woman running away from her life. She was searching for her twin sister, and then she ends up in this small town, and she ends up sort of like becoming a guardian to her twin sister's daughter that she didn't even know existed. And then she meets, you know, the man she eventually, you know, gets with. But again, it's another angsty, like a little bit of a slow burn, small town romance. I wouldn't say friends to lovers. I wouldn't even really say enemies to lovers. I do have like an issue with the whole enemies to lovers genre because they're never really truly enemies, because one of them always like loves the other one even though they just act like they hate them. So I don't really get the enemies to lovers genre because they're never really enemies. If you're an enemy with somebody, you're not going to sleep with them, right? Like you're not jumping into bed with somebody you truly hate. Like I'm not jumping into bed with someone that I hate. Like that's not happening. So it's usually like they have to pretend that they hate them, but they have these feelings for them and they love them. Whatever. And that was fake dating. So this one was fake dating too. So Things We Never Got Over was like small town romance, fake dating, enemies to lovers because he acts like he doesn't like her in the beginning, but he really loves her. And, you know, the first one that I ever read from her, I have to remind myself what it's called because I don't remember. Oh, By a Thread by Lucy Score. This one, I like this one because it was sort of like older, like the main characters were older. I really do like finding books where the main characters actually in their 30s, like they're single parents, like it's more relatable. I've read a lot of like high school, you know, young college age, like 20, 21. It just like that gets boring because like I don't necessarily want the stories to be realistic, but I kind of want them to be relatable. So like a single mom finding love in her late 30s, like, yeah, I want to read about that because I hope that happens to me someday. But By a Thread, she wasn't a single mom, though I'm not, God, I read this one back in February, so I really am having trouble remembering exactly what the book was about, but I know I loved it, right? So, oh, it was like billionaires, the billionaire boyfriend trope, which I have been kind of tired of the billionaire boyfriend trope because like, I mean, that's not realistic. Like I'm not going to go to Starbucks and meet like, you know, the billionaire. But it was Grumpy Sunshine. So it's that one too. A steamy, swoony workplace romantic comedy with a grumpy boss hero determined to save the day and a plucky heroine who is starting to wonder if there might actually be a beating heart just beneath her boss's sexy vests. Oh, that's right. She loves she loves vests, and she told him that, and he starts wearing vests knowing that it like turns her on, and it's just such a fun read. Okay, so we talked about Lucy's score. So now let me find my next. Oh, People We Meet on Vacation. So this one I actually have the book for. So Emily Henry has a few books now. I do have Beach Read, and I also have Book Lovers. I just haven't picked them up yet. But People We Meet on Vacation, I did give 5 stars to because it's a friends to lovers, which honestly is my favorite trope. I love friends to lovers. And it's just like, because I kind of wish, because it seems the most realistic, I think probably it's like people who have been friends for a long time and they finally realize their feelings for each other, or they just finally decide to act on their feelings for each other. I love that trope. I don't know why. It's just my favorite trope. If I had to pick one trope and that was all I could read, it would be friends to lovers. And I think, like, if you're familiar with these books, you'll see that my 5-star reads generally do go to like friends to lovers, because that's just what I love to read. But yeah, so this one is they've been friends since college. They take a trip together every summer. But then there's like a period of time where they don't talk because there was sort of like a misunderstanding, miscommunication, though I hate the misunderstanding, miscommunication. Like, I see it in so many books and I'm just like, that could have just been solved in a simple phone call. Like, did you really have to spend 8 years away from each other? Like, come on. But I get it. Like, if you're hurt, you're not gonna put yourself out there to be hurt again. But like the miscommunication trope just like drives me crazy. But that's what ended up going on here. And then they finally get together and I loved it. Like, I've seen so many people hate on this book, but I loved it. I loved this book. It was fun. They get together in the end. It's a happy ending. And it's just, I've heard Book Lovers is really, really good. That's the newest release. So I am really excited to read that. But I've also seen some people hate on that one too. They say they don't like it, but you know what? Everybody's tastes are different, and what I like, you may not like. What some other people like, I may not like. Like, I'm not into the monsters or like the fantasy. Like, everybody on TikTok talks about like ACOTAR and Throne of Glass or whatever, and like the high fantasy fairies and like that kind of thing. Vampires, werewolves, shifters, dragons, monsters. Like, I'm not into any. I'm into real people. I want to read about real people. I'm sure at some point I might get into all that high fantasy stuff, but I'm not into it. Zodiac Academy, I know that's another one that people love, but I'm not there. I'm into real people. So another one that I love, if I laugh out loud too, like a lot, like if a book actually makes me laugh out loud, it's getting 5 stars. I love banter. Oh my God, I love banter so much because it just makes me so happy when people they just go at each other. God, I love it. A Not So Meet Cute by Meghan Quinn. Oh, I love Meghan Quinn. Oh, I love Meghan Quinn. I've read a bunch of her books now, and I love her storytelling. I love her writing. I love her banter. Her banter is so fun. Like, I've laughed out loud in like literally every book I've ever read from her. And A Not So Meet Cute is one of those. It's a fake dating billionaire trope. But it's just like, it's so fun. Like, I just love it. I love read A Not So Meet Cute. Seriously, it's so fun. And Meghan Quinn, I also love her for this too, is she's starting to do this thing where she's going to release illustrated versions of her books, with every new release. So A Not So Meet Cute just got a illustrated version, which I had to buy because hello. And then she's got another book coming out on the 7th, which it'll probably be out by the time I put this video up, in the same world. It's the hero's brother in A Not So Meet Cute. He's getting his own book. I think it's called So Not Meant to Be. I can't wait to read that one because if it's like anything like this, it's just going to be like such a fun time. So A Not So Meet Cute. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love the banter. Okay, Bad Cruz by LJ Shen was another one that I gave 5 stars to, mainly for the banter. It wasn't super spicy. Not every book has to be spicy for me to be interested in it. I mean, the spice is like a bonus. But even if something is like, if you rate, you know, from 1 to 5 chili peppers, like the level of spice, you know, Bad Cruz would be like 1.5 spices. But I loved the banter of it. I loved the story. I just love... It was like, it's an enemies to lovers, again, enemies to lovers, though I feel like that one might be, I can't remember, God, I'd have to go read it again. I can't remember if he actually disliked her or if it was another one of those things. No, I think he liked her. It was one of those things where he pretended not to like her, but he actually liked her, but he acted like he hated her. Like, I don't get the trope. Just tell her you like her. What's so hard about that? I think because his family didn't like her or something. I don't remember. But I laughed out loud. I had a good time. It was a fun book. So I gave it 5 stars. The next one is The Worst Guy by Kate Canterbary. This was number 2 in a series, the Vital Signs series. I read the first one before Girl. That one was good. I liked it. I rated it 4 stars, but I didn't love it. Like it didn't make me feel, you know? You don't know what I was saying? But then I read The Worst Guy, which is, it's not like a direct sequel, so it's not like a continuation of the story. It's just in the same world. A lot of these authors write within the same world and they're just a series. This one was just in the same world. But The Worst Guy, there was so much like angst. This one was enemies to lovers again, but I think he always had a thing for her, but she actually disliked him. I think, again, another one was enemies to lovers, which is never really enemies. They just like fight. But again, there was banter, it was angsty, it was spicy, it was just like, I just loved it. I loved it. Oh, so good. So the next thing are their doctors. So they're doctors in that one. And she's got like this kind of felt sort of relatable to me because she had sort of like diet issues. She had like an eating disorder, not that I have an eating disorder, but like she had an eating disorder and then she had like certain foods that she could or couldn't eat. And I felt like that was sort of relatable because like I fear that sometimes, like going into the dating world is like, are people gonna have a problem if I'm like a vegan? Is that like gonna be a thing that people are like, oh, stay away from that? Like I worry about that, but he like didn't have a problem with it. He, you know, like he did things to like make her see that he supported her, and I just like, I loved it. I just loved it. Okay. I love talking about books. So the next one that I loved is The Ending I Want by Samantha Towle. This one, so it was another billionaire boyfriend. It was like chance meeting. They met on an airplane. She's dying. She's got like a brain tumor or something, and she's set off to go to Europe or England because it was like a lifelong dream of hers, and she has this like bucket list of things that she wants to do before she dies. So she chance meets this guy on a plane who ends up like owning the plane or hotels or something. He was just like some super rich guy. And, you know, it's like insta love, you know, they both fall for each other like instantly. And she doesn't tell him through basically like the whole book that she's dying. And then when he finds out, he's like distraught. He's like trying to get her to, you know, stay because she can get treatment, but she's just sort of like, I did all the things I wanted to do. Let me go. Like, this is the ending that I want. But then eventually, it's a happy ending. But I loved it. Again, it was so funny. I laughed out loud. It was just like, it gave me the warm fuzzies. And like, even though I thought she was gonna die at some point, like I still had a good time. I loved that book. Okay, what's the next thing that I rated? Okay, Credence. I have Credence here because this is the one that I have a public, I picked this one up having zero idea what it was about. I actually think I picked this one up, like I was in Barnes and Noble, and I didn't even read like the blurb. I had seen it around on TikTok, and like I knew that it was kind of like taboo, but I didn't know why, but like it like sort of like drew me in. So Credence, it's taboo. If you're not into like unconventional romance, but I don't have a problem with like dark romance, taboo romance, like I'll take it as long as it's real people. So the heroine's parents die, and she is sent to live with her step uncle and her step cousins. And it gets kind of crazy up in that house because nobody's blood related, though they are family, but she never met any of this family before this happened. But her father had put it in his will that he wanted, if she wanted, she could go live with them. And so she decided that she needed a change, try it out, see what happens. And it's just like, again, it's taboo, and like at certain times it could be uncomfy. Like there was one chapter where I was like, holy shit, what is happening right now? But it was still good. Like it made me feel things, and like I had a good time reading it, and that's really all that matters to me. So like if you're into taboo romance and like the sort of family stuff, which it's not really family because they're not blood related, doesn't bother you, like that's a good one. Penelope Douglas. I've read a few things by Penelope Douglas now. I've read this. I've also read The Devil's Night, the first one, the Devil's Night series, Corrupt, which was really good. It was a 4-star for me. It wasn't a 5, but it was good. It was, again, it's darker, like sort of twisted, but I had a good time with that one. There's 3 or 4 more books in that series. I'm trying to think, have I read anything else by Penelope Douglas? I don't think that I have. But anyway, that was really good. I did really like that one. Okay. I don't have these physical books on me, but I do have them, but my sister has them because she's reading them. But like I keep harassing her about them because I'm like, I want them back because I want to reread them. I could read them on my Kindle, which is where I read them originally, and then I loved the books so much that I bought the physical books because I just was so obsessed with them. And like this story has like such a chokehold on me. So this is the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart. So there's Flock, which I did rate 4 stars, though I'm going to give an overall rating of 5 stars to the whole series. Flock, I rated it 4 stars because it didn't, like, it was good and I really liked it, and there was a lot of like character building and stuff like that, but I didn't, like it didn't, I'm gonna have to reread it because I might re-rate it once I reread it, but because the rest of the series, like as I was reading it, just like had such a chokehold on me. Like I'm just obsessed. I'm just obsessed with this series. But then the second book, oh my God, the second book, if you, like, it was like reading it, like the best way that I can describe this series is it's sort of like a secret society, Robin Hood, take from the rich kind of theme, but there's like a lot of secrecy. It's a secret. Can you keep a secret? Like kind of thing. So it's a lot of, it's more like character driven than so much like plot driven, even though the end, the third book is more plot ish, I guess. But there's stuff that happens in the second book that literally just, it gave me so much grief. Like I was actually experiencing like real grief. Like the way that I cried after reading Exodus, which is the second book in the series, like the middle of the book, something tragic happens. And then at the end of the book, like I was just sobbing. Like not even sobbing. I was just like, I was hysterical. I was crying in my kitchen at like midnight. I was just like I was distraught. There was so much grief. Like, so my sister has read the first book and I keep telling her to read them. I'm like, it's gonna destroy you. And I keep sending her TikToks of like, people reading this book and just like crying, just like tears streaming down their face. She's like, I'm afraid. I'm like, read the book so I can have my books back. But I just like, so Flock is just like, it's fun and it's angsty and there's, God, like I don't even know how to describe them. Like it's so hard to talk about stuff that you love. Like this is why I could never be in a book club, because if somebody's like, tell me what you thought about this book, I'm just like, I loved it. It's like, it was great, good time. Like I can't really go into much more detail than that. But like Exodus, it was just like, it's just like it killed you. It was just like being stabbed, just like murdered. And then the third book, a lot of people have said that the third book, like, Exodus sort of like destroys you, but the third book sort of just like brings you back up. I didn't really necessarily feel that way. I don't like who the heroine ended up with. Like, I wish she had ended up with, you know, somebody else. But it's still like, this series has a chokehold on me. I think about it all the time. Like, so 1,000 Boy Kisses, you know, the one that I talked about first, like I cried through the whole thing, but that was a different kind of sadness than the Ravenhood series has on me. Like the Ravenhood series, it's just like, it's literal grief. Like every time I think about it, like it's actual grief. Like I want to cry. Which is so weird, right? That like a book has that much of a chokehold on you, but like the ending of Exodus, oh my God, I just wanted to die. It's like a different kind of sadness than 1,000 Boy Kisses. So like 1,000 Boy Kisses, it's sad, but I'm not going to think about that book and just like start bawling at the drop of a hat. Like if I ever read that book again, sure, I'll cry. But like thinking about that book, like I'm not grief stricken. But thinking about like Exodus, like there it goes again. Like it's literal grief. But I want to read it again because I'm a masochist apparently. But anyway, like that's, oh my God, that book series is just like such a chokehold on me. Okay, let's move past that because I can't handle it. Then there was The Reunion by Meghan Quinn, which I think is the very first Meghan Quinn book that I ever read. And I rated it 5 stars. It's a six person POV. So there's like, there's 3 couples. So it's, you get 6 different persons' point of view. It's 3 siblings coming back for their parents' reunion. And then each of them sort of like, the relationship that each one of them is sort of like in. And it's funny. Again, Meghan Quinn has like the best banter. Her books make me laugh out loud. I love them. Highly recommend. Okay, then let's talk about Colleen Hoover, because I did read a bunch of Colleen Hoover books in March. I haven't read any since then, actually. I have two that I rated 5 stars. So there was Layla, which again, this one got 5 stars because there was like a twist at the end, which I totally didn't see coming. But it was like, these 2 people, it's like insta love. You lock eyes across a wedding and they just like immediately fall in love, and then they spend all their time together. And then something tragic happens, and then like the girl just is sort of never the same again, but you don't find out why until the end. But it was really good. Like I had a really good time reading it. I wasn't expecting it. I cried. It was a really good book. I really liked that one. I also read, let's see, what else did I read from Colleen Hoover? I read Too Late, which is like probably her darkest book that I've read. And I think it's her only like really dark, sort of like disturbing book. That was good. Wasn't a 5 star. I did Regretting You. I did like, but didn't give it 5 stars, but I would kind of want to reread it again. Though I don't know that I'd give it 5 stars again. Like I like the story, but it just, I think there were parts of it that just felt, I don't know, it didn't feel 5 stars-ish to me. Another one that I did love was Heartbones. So this is a girl, her mother dies, and so she's sent to go live with her father, and she meets a boy, who she's like spending the summer there before she goes to school. But she's like, she didn't tell anybody that she is only going to be there for a couple of months and that she's gotten into the school. And she didn't even tell anybody her mom died for a long time. Like the conditions that she lived in, her father had no idea like how she grew up, and like that her mother never actually spent any of the money that the father sent on her. It was like, you know, drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. So she meets this boy who they're sort of like kindred spirits, right? So they have this connection. They don't really know why, because they don't really know each other's story, because he doesn't open up. He doesn't tell her really much about himself. She sort of like makes assumptions, but he doesn't deny them. He doesn't like tell her she's wrong. And then they fall in love, but then they're separated. They're torn apart for many, many years, and then they come back together. But just like this book, like I just loved it. I loved it. I want to read it again. Reminders of Him was another Colleen Hoover book that I read. I keep seeing that one all over TikTok that like people love it. I mean, I liked it too. It was really good. It did actually make me cry, but I didn't really give it, I think I'm gonna have to reread that one again. Like I just want to reread so many books. Okay. Here's my other favorite author, that I've discovered this year, Christina Lauren. Oh my God. My sister has one of these books as well because I do have them both on paperback. First, I read Love and Other Words, which is Friends to Lovers. It's another one of those ones where they're like separated for long periods of time. It is miscommunication, but I didn't feel as badly about the miscommunication in this book because it wasn't just like something that could be resolved like super simply. Like, I mean, I guess, no, it couldn't because it was tragic. Like the way that these two are sort of like torn apart, it's just like, it's kind of tragic. And like, I mean, I guess they could have talked, but the girl loses, you know, somebody and she loses her boyfriend and then she just doesn't talk. They don't talk for like 10 years. And then, you know, then they meet by chance, you know, a decade later or whatever. And they, you know, they get back together. But I love Christina Lauren's storytelling. I love her. I've read 2 books of hers so far, but I have so many more that I want to read because again, I just love her. I love her storytelling. I love her writing. She's not like a spicy writer. There are like some, I would say she's 1.5 stars again, but it's just like the way that she tells her stories. Like I don't need it. Like I just love the actual like story. So it's one of those. It's Friends to Lovers. The Soulmate Equation, I picked this one up totally random. It was on the buy one, get one 50% off, you know, table at Barnes & Noble. And I didn't even like look at the back of it. I was just like, sure. The cover looks cool. Let's try this out. But this one was so cool. Like I wish they had this in real life. So the Soulmate Equation is, I'm trying to remember like how it started. So it was like a chance meeting. So there's like this cute guy that comes into the coffee shop and her friend see him all the time. And they decide to stop him one day and like, I can't remember if they ask him like what he does or if they ask him some other question. It must be they ask him what he does because he gives them his card for like this company that he's starting where it's like online dating, genetics based, or it's like genetics based dating where they pair people up based on their DNA and like how compatible their DNA is. And so what happens is she goes in to like just for fun. I think her friend convinces her to do it. They like go in for fun and they, you know, give their DNA and she ends up being like a really high match with the guy from the coffee shop. And so because the company isn't like public yet, or it's like, it's still in testing or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember. The company like hires her sort of to like, date the guy to see if like it's actually true. Like if the DNA based dating like actually works, if you know these people are really soulmates based on their DNA. And it's just like, it's fun, and I just wish that they had that in real life because like how amazing would that be to actually be paired with somebody who is compatible to you based on your DNA, and you don't have to like, you know, worry about am I making the wrong choice like and then, you know, find yourself 18 years later going, what the fuck? What did I do in my life? Like, anyway, but yes, like that, I wish it was real. Like, I wish that was a real thing. And I had such a good time reading it. I loved it. I loved it. Okay. So Love and Other Words, I already talked about. Some Sort of Happy by Melanie Harlow. My sister recommended this one. And this one I gave 5 stars to. Like, it was just like, it made me feel like when I read it, like I actually felt that this couple, like it was very realistic, like relatable, like it just felt, so this series, this Happy Crazy Love series, I guess there's three in the series. I've only read 1 so far. The other 2 are like standalones as well, but they're just sort of like in the same universe, I think. I don't know exactly because I haven't actually looked into them. I just know that this is based on one couple. But it's like each of the main characters in each of these books has some sort of, you know, like thing that makes them not totally normal. So like this guy, oh God, I can't remember what was wrong with him. Something about him, I don't know if he had like some kind of personality disorder. I don't know if it was like OCD or what it was. He had some kind of personality disorder that made him think that he was not good enough for anybody, or like that something was wrong with him. But like then he finally found his match with this girl that he liked for a long time. So I think they went to high school together or something. He knew her from somewhere, and it was like a chance re-meeting. It wasn't really friends to lovers because they weren't really friends, but it's sort of like soulmate, chance, insta love kind of, because she was really attracted to him. But it was just a good time. Like I just really loved reading it. We only have a couple more. Okay, then there's Say You Swear by Meghan Brandy. Oh my God, I loved this one. It was so good. It was like almost 600 pages. So again, it was a really long book, but I didn't feel any of those 600 pages. Like my sister read this one, I told her to, and she was like, my God, this book is so long. I'm like, yeah, but it's so good. Okay, so I can try to talk about this one. So it's brother's best friend. Oh, okay, so it's like a bunch of different tropes in one. It's brother's best friend, but it's also friends to lovers. It's also like something tragic happens that like breaks one of the couples up. And then it's like soulmates. So in the beginning of the book, the main character, her brother, she's been in love with his brother's best friend for like a really long time, but he has never acted on it. She's never acted on it until like one night they decide to act on it. And then he decides after that he's not willing to risk the friendship with the brother. So they break up, though they're not really together. It's just like they don't continue. Even though they sort of like admit that they have feelings for each other. So then she meets someone else who shows genuine interest in her, who like doesn't play games with her, who was her friend first, because she was sort of like hurt and she, didn't want to like rush into it. She liked being his friend, but then they finally get together. But then the brother's best friend, gets jealous, and he realizes, well, crap, somebody else wants her, now I want her. But then something tragic happens in the middle of the book where she forgets the boyfriend, because they become boyfriend at that point. And so she has no memory of the boyfriend. The last thing she remembers is that she still has feelings for the brother's best friend. So she thinks that they're together. And so then, the last 200 or so pages of the book, it's just like resolving that, and like, who does she end up with? Does she end up with the brother's best friend? Does she end up with the old boyfriend? Like, who's it gonna be? Like, it was so angsty. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Like, I was just like, oh my God. Like, I was praying that she would end up with the right guy. But it was so good, so good. I loved that one. Okay, I have one more. I think I have one more. Yeah, I have one more. The Piece That Fits by N.J. Gray. This is another brother's best friend, enemies to lovers. It's sort of like musician based, but this one didn't have necessarily anything like super special about it, but I just like the storytelling and the writing, and it all just made me feel. It all just made me feel things. Okay, let's talk about, so I'm going to leave links to all of those below, or the titles of them. I'll leave the titles of them down below in case you want to check any of them out. Check out my Goodreads if you want to see what else I'm reading that I didn't talk about, because obviously there's a lot more books that I didn't talk about because I didn't rate them 5 stars. Let's talk about the one that I rated 1 star. And I don't write reviews for books. Like I rate them and then I move on. I don't write reviews. My cat is driving me nuts. I drink my tea before it gets cold. Okay, so I can't remember. Oh no, my sister. I feel like my sister recommended me this one, but then I think I told her about it. Oh no, she did. Did she recommend it to me? I don't know, because I was looking for more friends to lovers, because I had just read what had I read? I had read something and I was like, I need more friends to lovers books. Like that's my favorite genre. So I was asking her for recommendations for friends to lovers and she gave me a couple. I read a couple of them. They were 4-star reads. Like, they weren't great. But this one, That Boy by Jillian Dodd. Like, this is like the worst written book I've ever read. It read like an unhinged diary of like a 12-year-old. Just like, this book was just so weirdly written. It didn't make any sense to me. Like, just the way that she talked and the progression of the story, and I hated it. It was so bad, but I still pushed through. I am not one of those people that can stop reading a book once I start it, even if I hate it. I was so bored reading this book, and it took me like a couple of days to read it because I couldn't get through it. But I can't DNF a book. Do not finish. I can't DNF a book. Like, I just can't. If I start a book, even if I hate it, I will read it until it is done. Like, there was another book that I read earlier this year called, I don't remember. It was like a post-apocalyptic end of the world type of thing. It was before I got into, the romance stuff. I picked this one up because that's what I used to love to read. I mean, I don't love it so much anymore. I mean, I still like the genre, but it's like not my favorite thing anymore. Though there is one in here. Let's talk about that one next. But this one, what was I saying? I just hated it. I hated it. I hated the writing. I hated the story. I hated the characters. I hated the way that they talked to each other. I hated how unrealistic it was. People don't act like this in real life. Like, it was so bad that I actually wrote a review. I said, this is the first book I've ever wanted to DNF, though I managed to force myself to finish it. Because I can't leave anything unread. I love a good friends to lovers. It's my favorite trope, but the writing was so juvenile and read more like an unhinged diary. I do not enjoy this writing style. I probably won't continue the series, and I won't be continuing that series. One that I read recently, that is sort of like post-apocalyptic, sort of like end of the world situation, but it's also, there's like a little bit of romance mixed into it, but the romance is kind of like the main focus of the book, but there's so much going on with like the end of the world stuff that it's just woven together so well. I didn't rate it 5 stars because I didn't really like how it ended. Like, I wish that there was more. Like, this book could have been 600 pages and I would have read every 600 pages of them and loved every single one of them. I wish there was more. The story was not long enough. It's When It Ends by Penelope Black, and it just came out. I think I read it the day it was released because I'd seen her post a few TikToks about it and I was really intrigued. It's a reverse harem, which means the female main character ends up with more than one boyfriend. She has 3 boyfriends. They're like foster brothers. She grew friends to lovers as well, because she grew up with 2 of the brothers. It's so many different tropes in one. It's reverse harem, friends to lovers, insta love, end of the world. There's like so many, but I loved it. It was good, but I wish there was more of it. So that's the only reason I didn't rate it 5 stars, is because I wanted more. I wish she had built this world. I wish she had like built it out more. I just wanted more. Okay, now that I've been talking for nearly an hour, I think it's time for me to go. I hope you had a good time hanging out with me while I told you about some of the books that I've loved reading this year. And if you haven't, highly recommend getting yourself a Kindle. This is where I do most of my reading. I think like 95% of the books I read are on the Kindle Unlimited. I have bought some paperbacks, but most of what I read is off Kindle Unlimited just because it's much cheaper, than buying all the books in the store. You're not sure you're gonna like them because there's a lot of stuff that I've read that I'm like, I would have hated myself if I had actually spent money on like a physical book because I would never read it again. Like, some of these I'll read again. Like Love and Other Words, I'll read again at some point in the future. Credence, I'll read it again at some point in the future. Because I loved those books and I loved those worlds and I love the characters and I love the stories. Every so often I read a book on the Kindle Unlimited that I decide to pick up in physical, the physical books, just so I have it, which is what I did with Ravenhood. I read the Ravenhood on Kindle Unlimited. I love them so much. I bought them in physical because I just like have to have them, It's just like having them. It's just like, it's a different experience and I want to reread them in physical form. But I do recommend getting yourself a Kindle. I have the newest generation of the Paperwhite, and then I just got myself like a little cover for it. Best investment. I also love, well, I have like an Amazon credit card. It's like the Whole Foods credit card or whatever. So I did, I have like I did the payment plan thing on it. It's paid off now, but I was able to do like installments. So if you can't spend, whatever the cost is of the Kindle, and you happen to have the Amazon credit card, you could do the payments. Though, can you do that on a regular credit card, or does it have to be the Amazon card? I don't know. I don't actually know, because I use my Amazon card when I shop on Amazon. So, but yeah, highly recommend getting yourself a Kindle. If you haven't dipped your toes into the romance genre and you love reading, maybe you've been out of reading for a while, maybe you miss it, maybe you don't really know where to pick back up, because that's where I was. Dip your toes into the romance genre. If you want to start off slow, if you don't want to dive right into smut, which I did. I dove right into smut, not even really knowing what I was doing. I dove right into reverse harem. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but like once I was in, I was in. Like, this is my world now. But if you want to get into romance, but you don't want to like dive right into smut or something like really dark, or you don't like the reverse harem thing kind of like freaks you out, I would start with like authors like Christina Lauren. She's very tame usually. Like, there's some spicy stuff in it, but it's not a lot. It's not, what's the word? Like, aggressive. It's not graphic. If you're not into that kind of thing, Christina Lauren is great. I love her storytelling, but it's just like, oh, love it. Colleen Hoover is another one. She doesn't write a whole lot of spice. But again, I love her storytelling. I love her writing. Who would be another one? I would say Emily Henry, probably, because I think her books are pretty tame. I've only read the one, but this book is pretty tame. There was like one scene, but it wasn't like a really graphic. It wasn't really graphic, but it was good. I'm trying to think of what else I've read. I think I would start with those three. Like, if you want to dip your toes into romance, but you don't want to be in like smut, you're not into the graphic stuff. I would try one of those three authors, because they're very tame when it comes to that stuff. Like, there's a little bit of it, but it's not a lot. It's not graphic. Okay, so I'm gonna go and pick my next read. I'm not really sure what I want to read. Sometimes I get into these like moods too, where I'm just like, I don't know what I want to read next, because I've read so much. I might pick up, I might go find a book on my bookshelf, to read. What time is it anyway? It's like 11:30. Oh boy. I better start getting ready for bed. Okay. Good God. What is your deal? Look at her tail. Can you see her tail? It's poofy. She doesn't poof as much as Pugsley does. Pugsley gets real poofy. She poofs, but she doesn't get as poofy. All right, anyway. I hope you had fun hanging out with me. I had a good time. I love talking about books. If you would like to see me do this again in the future, if you've got an hour to kill and you would like to see me talk about some more books in the future, let me know, because I love talking about books. It makes me happy. I wish I had a job where I could read all day and get paid to do it. God, that would be the life. You know what? I want to open up a bookstore one day. That's been like my dream forever. I would love to open up a bookstore / cat cafe / actual vegan cafe bakery. Like, that would be my dream. Just like all three of those in one. Oh, one day. Maybe one day. Maybe I'll have my own. I'll move to a small town. I'll have a small town romance. Because that's what, that's what happens. They move to a small town and they just like meet the love of their life. Maybe that's where the love of my life is. Maybe he's in a small town. I haven't met him yet. And I'll meet him when I open up my bookstore / cat cafe / regular cafe. I can dream, right? I'm probably ruined, Like, the romance novels have ruined me. I don't think love is real. I'm pretty convinced at this point that love is not real, and it's probably not gonna happen for me. And I live in these worlds because the real world just, it sucks. The real world sucks. Okay, I'm gonna go. Probably cry. I will see you guys later. Bye.